So, in today's world, responsive design or responsive websites are a compulsory thing that everyone needs to do. So, what we want to do today is to see how you can use Bubble to create responsive websites or design. So, I saw this beautiful design. Uh, I think we should replicate it and see how it goes. How you can place things here and there, move things based on screen size. So you just hit the road here and see how we can just put all these things on top of this page in a bit. So the first thing we want to do is to let's color our background. So we'll use, of course, a flat color. So you could choose to use a gradient, just anything that works for you. But I don't think that this is a gradient, so we'll just put a flat color there. So a flat color, and then I want to make it something around the blue. Okay, so I think this is better. Great. So that's works that for now. And then I want to put in a group, but it's going to be a floating group because we want this to float at the top, basically. So let's come down here, add a floating group like that to the page. So let's try that again, floating group like that to the page. All right. And all right, so this is column aligned. And so for this one, it doesn't really matter, but we want it to stretch all across. So make sure that we uncheck fixed width. Can just put this back to 10. And then for the height, we use 100. Should be fine. And then what we want to do is to move it away from the edges. So to move it away from the edges, we use the margin. So we'll do 10, 10, 10 like that. So it moves it away from all the edges. We can move it really away from the edges the more. So we'll try like a 50 on each side. So 50, okay, 50 like that, 50 and 50. And that moves it from all the edges. Now we need this to have some sort of roundness. So let's try 20, which is small. Let's try 100, which looks good to me, like that. So 100, and I think the height should be a bit smaller. All right. So let's just work on the height. Let's use a 50, really tiny. So let's use a 70, which is better. Now, it's some sort of gray stuff. So we can just use some level of opacity using the same color. So it's using a flat color and we're using this color. So just to make it easy, we could just go to styles and set up the color that we want. So just come to color and look for the color that suits you. So I could just use this particular color, which is a primary 80, I think. I think it suits me a little better. So this primary 80. And let's get back to our design. Come back here and use a primary 80. I think that should be this. Okay, this is right. So we can stick to this. I think this should be fine so that it's easy to reuse. Then come in here, use the same color, but this time around, we want to change the opacity to maybe like 10. So also want to get rid of the shadows. I see it has some sort of offset, so let's keep it to none. All right, so let's come back here, get rid of all right, so let's try 50. Not sure why it's not working as I planned. Flat color, background color. Like 90. Okay. Not very sure why that isn't working as I planned, but we could move this around a bit. That should give me what I'm looking for, like that. Okay, color isn't perfect, but we'll make do with that, I think. Okay, so I think this is better. Then let's add in like a logo. So we'll put in a text. So here, like that. So put in the text. So the text should be inside of the floating group. So let's put a group inside of this so that it just stays in. Oh, no need for the group. So let's just keep this here, and then let's adjust it to the middle. Right, like that. And then we can give some sort of padding within it just to make sure everything stays within. So here, give the padding of maybe like 10, 10, 10, like that. So just want to make sure that everything stays within. Then the text should read object. So set objector, like that. Objector. Need to increase this text to like a H2, like that, make it italic, and then we want to make that text to be white, like that. So that's works. Okay, so that's fine for now. What else? We need to set up the menu here. So we'll just do, we'll pick a group, and let's change the layout here to a row so that everything stays side by side. All right, so inside of here we can just put a text, and we want everything inside of here to be like center aligned, like that. All right, then that text needs to be white. All right, so we have home. So let's set it up just like that, home. So what we'll do is we'll just set one up, and then we'll copy it across the rest. And I think that is it, except we want to start adding some sort of over effect and all that. So we'll just do it and add like this text is hovered, something like that. All we want is should we do a border? Let's just do an underline. Underline, check, something like that. So that's fine. And so what else do we need to do? I feel like that's fine. So let's just copy and paste. So we need 1, 2, 3, 5 of it. So just copy, paste, 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 paste. So that should be fine. Now I want to change the orientation of these two rows so that they all stack by each other. And then let's make sure we label this to maybe something like links or menu, something like that. That should be fine. Links, like that. And then let's change what this one says. There's about, there's services, there's process, there's client. So we have about, there is services, there is process, there's client, there is, let's use contact, like that. And then in here, I want to make sure that this is spread all across it. For the width, the width will just fit to the content actually. So we spread it all across, and then I'm gonna check this. And right here, let's apply some spacing just in case. of 20 and 20 like that between them. So even if you have to fit it to its container like this, it should still be fine. Then something we want to do is to make sure that all of them is lying in the middle, like that. So let's also bring this to the middle like this. All right, then we need one more part, which is this button at the end here. So let's come back and make that button happen. So button like that, and let's just sign up like that. So for these, we'll just do some padding, some roundness. That's it basically. So 20, let's see what 20 gives us. So let's just make it by the sides, please. So 20, okay, so let's make it 50. Under 50. Just maybe at the top here, let's give it a 10 and a 10, like that. So I think it's better. So let's give it some level of roundness. So that's fine. For the texts, maybe we'll make it an 18. All right, and let's keep it at the middle too. And then I want to spread everything out like so. That keeps everything spread out properly. So we could choose to add a little bit of padding at the top and the bottom. So we'll keep it at 20, 20, like that. So that looks better now. So you can choose to check it out. So this is loading up, taking a bit. Okay, so well, we are good now, and everything looks more or less like how it should be. So here's what we're building. So we're trying to be as close as possible to this. So it looks good to me. All right. And by the way, this is supposed to float at the top. So eventually it will float at the top like that. Something I notice is these menu items are really thick, and this is an inverse white. So let's make it look something like that. So I don't highlight on all of the menu, and then let's make it bold. So just hit this and it becomes bold. And then for this, let's just do an inverse. So let's make this color blue. That's the text color, and then let's make the background white. And that's it basically. Let's also make the text to be bold like that. So I think that should fix that. And let's do a refresh. That should come up in a bit. All right, I think I'm having a very low or slow connection, but I'll just give it some seconds. So while that is happening, the next portion is this part, which is the hero section. We need an image for this part, so we could just go back and let's see if we can get a 3D image. So let's see 3D image. So what's going to work for us? Because I don't have that particular image. Just trying to see if we can get something similar. And then we use it. It can be just anything, and I think this is looking like what worked that for me. Just need something of that circular shape. This looks good too. So I think I'll just open this in the new tab, and I'll just use the link to the image when it's time. So look at it. Let's try it again. Right, now this is working, and we can get rid of this debugger mode. so let's head to the next part. So we already have our image that we'll be using, so this image will be just perfect. This is what we need. All right, and then just do the left part. So let's go ahead and add like let's add a group. So let me get rid of this. So click in a group like this on the page. So it's group B, all right, and then inside of it we'll have another group to contain this particular left text. So let's come back here and then let's do another group. So put it right inside of this other group. All right, so it's inside the group, and notice that the group is at the top here. So we need to move it down so that it comes under this heading that we already have. So for us to do that, we can just use like a top margin. So the easy way to calculate this is what's the height of this container and then what's the margin around it. So the margin around it is 50-50, so that gives you 100, and then this should be a height of 170, I guess. So let's do 170 top margin. So let's come down here, do a top margin of 170 and hit enter. So that comes down here as we expect, and you could choose to add a color just to get to know what's going on. So I'll just name this group body, something like that, right? And then for this we'll say group left, something like that. So now let's add the text. So add this text, or this text bit by bit, and then we should be good in a minute, right? So I'll just copy this text from here, and let's come back here, take the text, add to it. So we're adding it to this group, and then what next? We'll just paste in the text and let it have the color, no contrast. Let's use this one. All right, so primary 10. What else? The big object text. So let's do another text. It has a big object. Color, the same thing. So let's take the color, primary 10. This other color, so let's copy. And then add another text. Put it in. Paste it up like that. And then change the color to this, primary 10. And that is it. Then what we have here is a button, two buttons actually. One is a sign up button and the other is the icon to make a call. So we could just choose to say group all of this into one group and then put the icons in another group. So let's just highlight all of them. So this three, and say group in a column container like that. So once you group it in a column container, we could just say group texts, something like that, and then we could choose to do the alignment and the sizing now. So for this and this has more or less the same size, but this one is dark or bold rather. So let's come back here and let's do let's make it bold. All right, and then let's make it left align. If you use this, it might not work. So usually it's best to come to this side and pull it to the other side. So it's pulling towards this end because for now it is taking up the whole size of the parent container, but we'll fix all of this eventually. Therefore, for this object one, we want to raise it to maybe the H1. So the H1, that's what we want to put it, and then we want to give it a color of primary 10. So primary 10 like that. And for this is fine the way it is. We'll just work on the box sizing. So everything seems to be good. So we'll just put this image on the other side and then we'll start padding up things. All right. So now we have the group left. Let's create a second group. I'll make it a group right. Like that. group right, and this will contain an image. Now, where's the image supposed to contain? It is this one. So we just copy the link. So instead of downloading and uploading here, so just paste it. It should load up in the place. Now, notice that it's stacked upon each other. We don't want it stacked on each other. So let's come back to here, not here. So group texts. Sorry. So let's close the left, the right. So that makes sense. So for the group body, we want to make sure that it is stacked by each side. So come down to the layout and change this to row. So you see, it's starting to make more sense as we change it to row. Now we also want to add a padding by the side of the left here. If you check the image, notice that there are paddings on both sides. So let's add that padding or margin, whatever works for you. Just make sure that the design is right. So let's pick it. And then for this group body, we'll just add a padding on the two left sides. I think we added a margin of 50 around here. Yeah, so we'll just do a padding of 50 here to make it look nice. So by the left and the right, so we'll do 50, 50 like that. So it is coming in together. Now we also want to create a bunch of space around both of them. So let's try 20, 20, and see. Yeah, not so big. So I want to try 50. Let's focus on the colon 50. I think that looks better. Like that. So we can check the image. All right. So the text is not as big as we want it to be yet, but we'll fix all of that in a moment. We could add them for the group body. Let's add this padding all around. So 50. Right. And then within it now, we could now choose to really enlarge this this text or do what we want to do. So let's come in here and really make this text really large. So let's come up here. So what it means is the highest setting here isn't going to work for us. So we need to make it custom by ourselves. So let's come down here and the font size, I want to raise it really high. So we'll try 100. It looks better. I want it to be really big so that it takes up almost everything here. So let's try again to 150. Better. So it makes a little more sense than it makes currently. But we also want it to align with the top text. So either we are pushing the top text inside or we are raising this a little bit more. All right. So let's come back here. Then let's try 16. So which is too much. So remember that in a real world application, these whole settings would already be set from the design you would have. And then let's check out the text at the bottom here. So you could choose to make this text a bit large since we already have this one's a bit large. So this one is body 16, so we'll raise it a bit to say body 18 or even a little bit more. Let me change the color just to be sure of what I'm doing. So this looks good, but we could also raise it a little bit to say, let's make it 20. So let's make it 20. So better. So this should also be the same. 20. 20, like that. So looking better. Let's work on this image currently. So for this image, we want it to take up the full width. So let's check this off and let's set this to the minimum it can go. For the height, we don't want it to be fixed height too. So what we will prefer is let it take up the full width and keep the aspect ratio fixed, right? So that it can take up as much space as it can, right? So we could choose to set a fixed width, or we could do the aspect ratio kind of. So let's try and see what will work properly for us. So now that the image is really stretching, what do? We need let's see if we can change the aspect ratio to 0.5. 0.5. Okay, so 0.5 isn't working. So let's see if we can do 2 to 1. And for some reason, the height is really growing big. So eventually, we might need to just use a fixed width. All right. So let's do this 100%. Let's use percentage. And then for the height, if we're keeping the aspect ratio, it's going to be too long. So let's make this 1, and we can do this one like this. So the shape is a bit better currently, but for some reason this is supposed to be probably a bit wider than this or something. So what do we do at this point? So something we can consider doing is using percentages to streamline the two groups that are within this hero section. So for example, we could use percentages here. So we could say let the width of the left. So we could say let it have a fixed width like that. And then we say here on the left, we want it to say take up 40% like that, so that this one can take up the remaining portion of the screen. So if we do that, let's see how it turns out to be. But for now, we need to make this text to be a little smaller. So we'll do like a 150, not working. So we'll do like a 1, let's do a 100 rather. Let's get it back to where it was. For this 20, this 20. Let's just test it out and see. And by the way, this is supposed to be at the middle of the screen. So, okay. All right. So let's do a refresh. So this is looking a bit better. So we need to fix this part a little bit. All right. So for this left part, we could we'll say let's give it like a fixed height so that this content will just come in the middle, or we could just do like a margin top. So any of those ways would work just fine. Okay. So let's do, since we're using a column setting, so vertically we want it to align in the middle as we see it here, right? Then we might want to just maybe push up a little bit. So if you notice here, it has some more space. So we could say let's increase this a little bit and then add some padding like we see here in the prototype. So let's just increase the size. So what we have there is currently 100. So just do like a 120. I think that's getting better. So let's try a 130, which means it's too much. So let's try a 125, which seems to be better. All right, so let's do a refresh here. See what we've got. So that's looking better. But of course, we can actually make this a bit bigger so that it takes up the whole width. So for us to do that, I might need to take this up to 140, ignoring what it looks like here because we are not in our full zoom. We can also choose to extend our screen a little bit so that it contains more in one screen. So we currently are at 1400. So we will try a 1500. Okay, we can try a 1600 and it will still contain. Then we could zoom in a little bit and then we'll work from there. So let's try again. Just trying to make sure that this takes up as much part of the screen as possible. So what we have here is 140. So since we have to go with the 150, so once again, you can ignore the sizing and just let's focus on getting good result. Great. So this works perfectly, but we don't want this much space between them. So let's go there and get rid of the spacing. So what we can do is check if there is a padding around them, but there seems to be no padding. So look for the grouping and check what we can do. So we can just check and take off much of the line spacing. So we'll just change this to 1 like that and do a refresh. So that comes together really nicely. And that looks good to me. All right. So with this all set, we can now put in the other group of buttons. So let's do group, put it in here, and so it is stacked inside of the left button, sorry, inside of the left group here. Okay, so let's just make sure that we have this in. I'm not sure why that didn't work properly, but let's put in the text and be sure. Sorry, let's put in the button rather and be sure. So let's copy this, and inside of this, let's paste this in. So we have this inside of this. So we want this to be inside of this group, right? And then, yeah, let's make sure it is the last thing in the group, like so. And now we want to have a second button here, but this time around it will contain just an icon. So let's come back here and let's change it to icon. And then what icon do we want? Tell, phone, yeah, something like that. So that should work for us. And what color should it be? It should of course have the same kind of color. So let's go for icon color. Icon color. Change it to this. And then for the roundness, we can use a 360 to see if we can get the complete roundness of the button. And then let's stack it side by side. Let's use a row rather than a column like this. All right. And then we can reduce most of the padding around it. So let's see, like that. So just like that. And then give them some gap. So keep that 20, 20, like that. So before we add more spacing, let's just test. It's important to test as you go. It just helps you not to waste time when it comes to debugging. So we've set that up, but let's add some spacing. So inside of here, not here, but say the group as a whole, want to add some spacing, and the spacing we want to add is say somewhere around 20. So I think that works. So that gives us what we are looking for in that part. So doing a refresh gives us this. So now that we have this set up and working, this works well. So we just want to make this really circular instead of what we have here. So just get a curve around these two edges. So let's go to the roundness. So let's keep it at okay, so let's say let each of them have their different border. So this will help us to just do the roundness for just the top part of the screen, or at least do it for each of them. So top left, so this first part, that's what I want to do. So doing a 20 will be too small, I feel. So and just give it 360 and see how far it goes. So it really looks better in my opinion. So let me try it on both sides. So top left and top right. All right, so that looks better on both sides. Then for this other part, I think it wouldn't need as much as that part. So bottom left, bottom right looks good. Can do better. So let's try 200. But that's too much. So I think the 100 was just better. Now the bottom part, I feel like can work even without the whole curves and all. But this just to add some level of stylings and make it look better than it was, something like that. So this works for our use case. Now going back, the last part of this screen would be the footer part, where we have the social media icon, this arrow icon, and these two arrow icon. Now, of course, we're not making them functional. Our goal for this video is to see how we can make our web pages responsive, really cool on different screens. So let's close off these tabs and then let's come back here. And now that we're here, we want to work on the last portion of this desktop view. So in the last portion of our desktop view, we'll add another group. I can call it group footer, like that. group footer. So inside of it, we need 3 icons by the side, 1 icon in the middle, and 2 at the other side of it. So let's get all of them. So 3 icons, 1 in the middle, 1 by the side. All right. So let's see how we can work around this. So let's start by with those at both ends. So let's do a group with another group, right? So we need this to be inside of this. So, great. So we can do group left like that, and then inside of it we need icons. So let's put it in icon. It has to be inside. Great. So the first icon we have here is X, then Facebook, then Instagram. So since there's no icon for X here, okay, so let's try Facebook. None of this seems to be here. Okay, so we have it in one of them. So just looking for more options. So okay, I think the feather one might work. All right, so here we have more than one option. So this is great. We'll just pick the first one like that. So we've done for Facebook. So for the first one, let's try again and say Twitter. All right, great. We have it there, and I know the icon has been changed, but I can't find X here. So since I can't find X, I might have to, make do with what I have. So you see. Okay, so we'll have it. Great. So we'll have X, and then the last one would be Instagram. And that makes sense. We'll just make sure that they are stacked by each other, just converting it to row. And notice that there's supposed to be a level of padding or margin by the sides. So let's make sure we get that to work here. So on the footer, we want to set up that margin. Let's see if a 50 on all sides would look good. So like that. So I think that might look good. So let's leave it there for now. And then for the height, fix height to content. So let's leave it like that. Same thing here, fix height to content. So leave it that height. And that works at the moment. So we want to add a second and say group middle. And then group right. All right. So once again, we want to make sure that everything is stacked by each other. So we have to convert this to a row and make sure that everything is spread to the 3 sides as we have them here. Like this. So now let's make changes to what we have inside. So let's begin. So let's check for the width. So let's make sure that the width is at the minimum. So this. So let's make sure their width is all at 10, so that there's nothing stopping us. All right, great. So now for this one in the middle, we want to make sure it is stacked in the middle, like this. And then for this one, I want to make sure it is stacked to the side. So let's make sure it is stacked to the side, like this. Okay, great. So everything is looking really, really tiny. So something we need to work on is the colors. So let's take this away. And for the left one here, we'll just highlight all of them and come look for the color. So where's the icon color? Okay, icon color white. Great. Something else we want to do is to add some level of spacing, as you can see. So just come down here, add some spacing between. I could add like 20 for the row gap, and then for the column gap, add under 20. And let's work on this one that's at the extreme right. So let's get rid of 1, and then we'll work with 2 here. So this and this. So once again, we're changing this to white like that, and we're adding some level of spacing here. So as usual, we'll add this, make it 20 like that. So we just change the icon that we have in each of them. So arrow back, so back arrow. So okay, it's just a plain arrow. So we have this for the back and another arrow like that. So I want to get a similar arrow for both sides. So let's try again. Let me be sure. Okay, where did I get this from? So from Bootstrap. So let's go get it from Bootstrap too. So Bootstrap. So get the arrow. So arrow forward, that's what we need. So this is backward, this is forward. Great. Now for the sizing, we are using 30. For some people, we use 48. So whatever works for your use case is really fine. So 30 is just like the minimum, not the minimum, like the basic. Then for here, we'll get rid of these ones and put in like a button or something there. Let me just copy this and put in here, paste it in. All right, so we'll have this inside of here. So we want it to have like a gradient background. So it needs to be an arrow down. Let's change that icon to arrow down. Arrow down, change it to Bootstrap icon and look for arrow down. So this is arrow up. We should have an arrow down somewhere here. Great, so here we have it. And then for the color of the background, so we don't want it to be flat color, we want it to be a gradient. And that's already looking good to me. So but we'll just test it out to be sure. So we'll do a refresh. So coming down here, this is what we have. It seems to be a little too big than the rest, so just adjust it a little bit. So let's see. I think we should get rid of okay, so let's add a bit to the top there and the bottom. Let's see how this one looks. Okay, so it looks a bit better. Now something we can do is to make sure that this is as grayed out as we have it here. So let's go back, come back here. I think I prefer the way it was before, so I'll just change it back to what it was before, and then come to the gradient, and at the top here we want it to be this blue, so we want it to fade away smoothly like that. Then at the bottom we want it to be gray. I think that gray is fine. Should I start with the white? Let's try white. Okay, seems better. Then the icon color this time around should be white. Okay, it's looking good. So let's just make sure that this is stacked at the middle. This two is stacked at the middle. Just for future reference, stacked at the middle. All right, so that looks good. So what do we have here? All right, great. So this is lovely in my opinion. Now recall that at the beginning we said we want this to float at the top so that when this goes up, it just stays underneath and stays where it is. So that was the use or the reason for the whole floating that's happening here. All right. So we have all this working perfectly, and this is what we have here in the screen here. So I think everything looks good or works well. So what we need to do now is to see how then can we convert this to a mobile screen. So see what we're talking about here. When we inspect elements here, you see in the smaller screen, this is looking really bad. And this is not how it's supposed to be. All right. So we want to see how to do it. Now for us to do it, we'll now have to change to the responsive tab. Here in the responsive tab, we have different screen sizes ranging from 1200. The default, which is a little bigger. That's 1600. We have 1200. We have 992. We have 968, and we have 320. In fact, you can choose to add your own. So for example, you can just say you want to add a custom, and then you add like I think like a 5, maybe 580, something like that. So let me just copy and paste if this is not working. So I'm trying to 580 and add it. Okay, great. So this is what 580 will look like. Okay. So let's walk around this, and we want to work with the 580 actually, so that we'll see how we can arrange all of them in every screen size that we find ourselves. Okay. So we'll use some level of conditionals. All right. So let's work on this. So what we'll do is we'll make this screen for any size, screen size from 768 and below, like that. So all of this should have, say, similar features from 768 and below. Now this is dependent on what you are building. This might be a little different when you are building for something else that might require that this 580 be a bit different from the 768. Okay. So this is what we need to build. So what it means is at that screen size, we want to have only this and this on the screen, and then we'll now hide this inside of a menu focused screen that comes up only when we click on that particular button, something like that. So let's go back, and now that we're here, we'll do everything that will come back to the menu. So first of all, we want to get rid of this particular background when we are at this screen size. So what we want to do is we'll come to so you click on the element, then come to the conditional, and then we want to check when screen size, current screen size, or we can just look for page width. Current page width is below, can do less than or equal to 768, this one, like that. So once it is at this screen, we want that background to be off. So do that background color and get it off. We can actually just background style, take it to none, and once you have it at none, that solves that problem. Then for the roundness, border roundness, we'll take it at 0. So I don't think there is any sort of roundness here, so we'll just keep it at 0. Then we can reduce the font size. So the font size is a bit reduced, so let's check and make it, maybe we can make this 100. Yeah, so we can just make that 100. So just copy this condition and click on the logo here, then we'll paste it. So when we paste it, what we want is for the font size to come down to like a 100. Why is it so big? So let's see for 50. Okay, so 50 looks a bit better, but let's take it a little lower. So 30, looking too small. So let's make it 40. Okay, so I think that's perfect. Now the next thing would be this menu. So for this menu, we want to hide it when it gets to this particular screen size. So we'll just do it. So current page, when current page is less than or equal to this particular page, we want this element not to be visible anymore, so it goes off. Same thing with this sign up button. We also want it not to be visible, so paste it and get rid of this, and then say element is visible, you uncheck it. So once you uncheck it, it goes off. Now something you need to make sure is that the collapse when hidden is on, so that when you remove something from the screen, it actually leaves the screen. Now if it is off, then you still see some sort of sign that something is there, and then it will still be taking up space. So just check it, make sure it is gone. So at this point, we can now add the icon that will bring up the menu at this particular screen size. So let's take an icon, and this icon has no background, sort of, so just put in an icon instead of a button. So let's pull an icon. Okay, so you need to be on the UI builder so that will work. So we'll pull it and put it inside of here. So it's not properly placed. So I want it to be inside here. All right. So by default, it will be hidden. So we can just do element is hidden on page load. Then there will now be a conditional to show or unshow it. So let's move back to the responsive part and paste this condition saying that element is visible at this particular page size. So let's arrange it a little bit by putting it in the middle like that, and then changing the color to what we want, white, and then change this to menu. So let's look for what makes sense. So what do we use for this menu? Seeing all regular stuff. I just want to see if I can get exactly what was used, but it seems impossible. So I'll just use any of these ones that I have here, and I'll make it a 48 instead of what we have, 48 like that. So I want it that big there. So gradually our screen is already taking the shape as it should be. All right. So let's we use what's the name? We use a floating group to make sure that this menu comes down when this button is clicked, but that's what we'll do later on. So for now, we just want to adjust everything here. So you also notice that there's little margin around, unlike what we have here. So we also set the conditional. So we'll paste conditional here and check out the margin. Let's see if we can work on the margin. So here this is responsive. Okay, so this is where we are pasting it. So I think I pasted this wrongly. So delete. So this should be inside of this particular floating group. So what else we want to work on is the margin. So margin top, want to take it down to like 20, so better. Margin bottom, 20. And the sides, margin sides, 20. Same thing with the last margin, 20. So that looks better now that we are on mobile, on a smaller screen. So that solves that one for us. So let's also fix this, rearrange everything to make it look good. Okay. All right. So at this point, we might want to use like a reusable component, rearrange our stuff so that we don't have to write the same code over and over again. So this would really be your choice. Anyhow, you would like it to be, all right? But I might just do a copy and paste, hide here and hide there. But you should actually use a reusable component when you are building. It makes it look really clean. So here in the body layout, I think we had a margin top of up to 170. So we might need to reduce it now that we have 70 plus 20 plus 20, which gives us somewhere around 110. So I might just reduce this by 60. So bringing it really close to the top. So sorry, this has to be conditionally placed, by the way. So let's paste our condition. Get rid of this. We just want the top margin. Change it to 110. Okay, great. So for any of this, it will be like that. But once you cross over here, it comes back to what it should be. All right. So what else do we want here? We want it to be that at this screen, we are able to have something standing like this. So what I can do is to just get a new group and rearrange everything this way instead of maybe creating a reusable component. So different cases will have different things that work for them. So what I can do is come back here, and here in the group body, I will just do a copy and paste, right? And then I'll make this mobile. So this would be hidden by default. So I just so this would be visible on the screen size, but it will be hidden by default. So here, just uncheck this so that it would not be on the screen. So this will be on the screen, while this would not be on the screen. So we can hide it. Now we can return back to our responsive screen and see what we have there. So here in the responsive screen, we have this mobile. And so we want to arrange it in such a way that it's going to look like this, okay? So for that purpose, we would just So here on the mobile screen, we can get rid of this and just apply it from here, since the whole group would come on screen once it's on mobile. So for this group body, we have hidden it. And so let's focus on this. So for this now, we can move this image into this group so that we are using just one. So I think that didn't work as I planned. So let's come back here and push it from this right. So just move it into this text part here. And then let's return to this group left here. So you choose to just rename this to group main, something like that. And then for the width, so group main rather, for the width, we could just change this back to pixels, change this to 10, and then uncheck this fixed width so I can take up the whole width. So let's rearrange from the beginning. So the first text here, we want it to be center aligned. So we just hit this and bring it to the middle. Same thing with the object we have here, we want it to be center aligned. So let's also hit it, let it go to the middle. We just want everything to be horizontally and vertically aligned. So that's why we're arranging everything. Okay. For this text, we also want it to be center aligned, and so we'll hit it at the middle here. But we want this to come up one step above. So I just use the navigation here, so make previous, so that brings it up here. And let's check. It's supposed to have some sort of spacing around this image. So let's make that happen by creating like some sort of padding around it. So we could do, say, 20, 20, 20, 20. That looks better. But we could also, make it a little more like 30, 30, 30, 30. So that looks a bit better. Then this one would be taking up the space, these buttons. So let's come down here for the buttons. I'll just make the size 100. I think that's better. So something like that. I want to make sure that everything is center aligned, so that it just looks as close as possible to what we have here. And I think for this screen, this footer works. This footer works for all screen sizes. All right. So let's just test out what we've done so far. So let's do a refresh. So once we do a refresh, we'll do like an inspect. Let me just get rid of this. All right. So that works. Okay. So let's inspect. Now just make sure you run through this. Make sure you run through this to make sure that the desktop screen is still what it's supposed to be. So notice that we have this other part that is supposed to be on the mobile only. So that means we need to make sure that it is not there when the screen starts. So let's go back to our group mobile here, and then want to set it to be invisible on page load, and then visible when this element is at this number rather. Then let's check this out too. We want to make it invisible at the same number, but it should always be visible at the beginning. So let's do another refresh. That should fix it now. All right, so this works now. All right, and then just to check it by the side, let's inspect this, and then we can now start seeing where we are good and where we are not. Right, so this is a 400 and something screen, so this is like a 760 screen. So it seems this is still too big for the screen size. So all right, so I think this is 100 now. So this looks good. So this looks good, and so let's push it in down a little more. So this is 520 or 530 rather, 600. All right, so this is 516, 517. All right, so now that we know that, okay, it looks cool on these screens up until somewhere around 659, more like 650. Okay, 640 still looks good. 640 looks good, but okay, 625 still looks good. But we can just set it at, okay, say from 650 don't look so good. But in most mobile screens, it would be at 580 or stuff that it starts going bad. So what really goes bad at this level seems to be, so let's check 580. So this is 580. It actually looks good on 580. So 586 something. Let's just keep this. No, that's 100 or that's 1000. So that it looks okay. So this is at 50%. I just raise it a bit to 70%. Okay. And push it in a bit. So let's keep this at 50 again. So this looks okay. So let's keep it at 580. Looks a bit okay. So let's go and work on the screen below 580. So something we are noticing is that this object seems too big at the 580 mark. But aside that, everything looks almost okay. So let's work on that object at 580 and below. So I want to add okay, so we have for current with less than this, the font size should be this. Okay, that's great. We just add a conditional saying that when it is less than or equal to 580, so we have 580 custom size. What we want is, so we are looking at this object, we want this object's size, the font size, to be maybe somewhere around 100. Yeah, so that's better. Then for this text, we want to apply similar conditional. So just copy it, copy the condition, come down here, and then paste it. All right, just paste it. So you can use like an 18, doesn't work. 16, that's better. So that looks better for when it is less than 580. So let's just do a refresh and try again. All right, so this is looking pretty better than what we had before. And so one last thing we would need to do is to make sure that when we click on this menu, we're able to see the drop down that shows items in the menu. So it is not captured here in the screen, sorry, here in the design, but we'll just do something so that you get an idea of how that works. Okay, so for the purpose of that one, we'll be doing, say, maybe like a drawer or something like that that opens and closes when this one is clicked. Okay, so let's go back. So we're back here, and so let's go back to the main builder, the UI builder. Close this off, and we want a floating group again. So a floating group menu. So this is B. So we want it to take up the whole screen. So let's look at the layout. And for the layout, we want it to just take up everything. So 100%. Right, so we don't have anything inside yet, but it's fine. Then for the width, it also has to be 100%. So 100%. If you want to confirm, we'll just do 50%. So we see it's taking the left part of the screen. All right, but I could choose to play around with this. For example, I can make this to be right so that it goes to the right. But I'm also looking at mobile screen. I want it to take up the whole screen, so that's why I'm not really concerned about these settings. And also, but depending on what you want to do, if you, for example, want to do this on a screen, a huge screen, you might just need to take a part like I'm taking here. So we'll now give it a background. So let's give it a background color, same background color. If you want, you could do a bunch of stuff like giving it a different opacity and all those good stuff, but it's fine for me just this way. And then we'll now add a group to it. And by the way, you can also change this to whatever you want, like fixed and all that. So just whatever you want. So let's add like an icon. So this icon will be used to close it. So we have it there inside of the surface. I want it to be at this edge, right? So for us to achieve that, we just push it down to that edge, and then let's make sure that we have some padding around this floating group that we have here. So let's make it floating group menu mobile, so something like that. So we'll keep it like 20 20 20, like so. And then for this, we want to maybe make it a little bigger, so make it 48 48, like that, and that should be white. And what we need is a close, so like that. Color should be white. Close it off like that. Then inside of here, we need this menu that we already have here. So let's pick this menu. Let's just copy it, come back here and paste it inside of here. So paste it in here. Now, instead of stacking by each other side, we want it stacked on each other like this. All right. So we'll just make sure to increase the size a little bit. So group lengths, like we have here. Let's make it 18, I think, and retain our color white, like that. All right, and then you recall that we have a button, so let me move this to the side too. Let's move this to the left. So copy this button too, and inside here we want to also paste it. So paste like that. So now we can just adjust this a little bit and say let's have some level of margin at top and bottom, at the top and the bottom. And for this one, we want the width to be full width, like this. So we want to take off the full width. Now this we are doing is only to be shown when we are at the small screen. So all right, so let's make sure we are working with the right thing. So here we need to be 100%. We also need here to be 100%. So that should work. So it should be fixed. Now this was not showing because we have a conditional, so let's make sure we get rid of that conditional. So you record I copied it from the conditional showing only when the screen is bigger than this size. So now that we have it like this, we're not sure what it exactly looks like, but this is what it should look like when we are on this page. Now at this point, we need to do two things. Now we need to make sure that we're able to see this when the time is right, and we are able to remove it when the time is right. So it means by default it should not be visible. So what should then make it visible? So we could just set like a state on top of this responsive. So we could do add new state and we say show menu, something like this, and do like a yes or no. Create. So default value will be no. So what we want is at any point when the states, so states, what we're looking for is the show responsive states show menu. When it is yes, we want this element to become visible. Anytime it is yes, that's what we want it to become visible. Now on this, we now want to be able to control when this is visible and not. So the first thing is when we click on this particular menu. So when we click on this particular menu, let's add a workflow. Now here in the workflow, we want to show element, and the element we want to show is floating group mobile menu. So anytime you click on this button, it should show this, right? And actually now you might not even have a need for the set state, but you could also just set up these things just to double check. So we could do set state of an element, and we want to set this show menu to be yes. So with this, it should show, it will be more like a double condition, right? Then we can now come here to do the close one. So let's go back to responsive, show it, and here that we're showing it, this is the button we are working on. Let's just make sure everything is working as it should be. So let's close this one off. All right, so it's closed. So this is one we want to work with. So when we click on this, add this. So we want to hide an element, and the elements we are hiding is floating group mobile menu. And of course, we could choose to say let's set state of a thing. That's the responsive, and that's the show menu. I want to put it to no. So now that we have this, our menu should show whenever we hit on that button. So let's try it out and see how it goes. So once we click on this, our menu shows up. And when we click on this, our menu goes off, just like that. So click on this, your menu comes up. Click on this, our menu goes off. And this is how you also set a drawer if you want to build like a drawer to come up and go off from time to time. So with the method we actually use, you might not really need the set states that we have just put in, or you might not need this one. So any of them just works. The core condition works, and this is how you create a responsive websites or web pages in Bubble. You could choose to make adjustments to this as you please, and just get the right thing that you need. So whether you are building on a website or you are building on a mobile app, mobile screen, it should show as it should be. So thank you very much for watching. It's been a long tutorial, but I'm sure that we've been able to benefit a whole lot from what we have been able to discuss today. So thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.